What up, gamers? Spencer here, and welcome back to my reaction to the Theorizer's Pixar Mega Theories. So last time, I watched it one Incredibles theory and two Inside Out theories. Now, in this video, I'll be watching why Coco's final death fundamentally terrifies you, up impostor theory, and how toys come to life. And then for the next video, it will be my last video for this entire reaction series, and that is Pixar only has one villain puppeteering all 27 movies, which I did not know about, that they had 27 movies in total. That's pretty interesting to think about in itself. But yeah, one note into this last video here, I do plan to make this only one video for me to react to because it is like an hour long. But because of this length, I need to find some time for me to react to this because it's a pretty long video, compared to like all the other ones here where, they're like short enough for me to group them together in one video. But yeah, this one here, very long. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this out within next week because I know normally I upload my reactions to these videos within around a weekly basis. So yeah, it might be delayed for like maybe a week or two, maybe a month. We'll see when I can get this last reaction video out. But for now, let's make the most out of our time here by watching the first theory in this reaction video, and that is the Coco theory, which I did watch the movie for the first time. Like, I just finished watching it around an hour ago from when I'm recording this video here. And to give my quick thoughts on the movie, while it is still fresh in my mind, I thought the movie was pretty good, but it is a story that you can see from a mile away, that you can predict on what's going to happen, like, near the end of the movie. Like, to give an example, and by the way, I will say some spoilers, and I'm sure like this video here that we're about to watch too will talk about some spoilers too, but yeah, to give an example of like what I'm talking about is that when I saw that flashback with the "Remember Me" cutscene, like you can tell like what's gonna be happening at the end to make Coco remember and stuff. Um, I mean, yeah, it is in the title of the song too in itself. But yeah, even so, like even though you can like see the story from a mile away, it is still like very effective. Like with that scene that I just mentioned too, like so far that is my favorite scene in the movie because I thought it was still like very effective, even though like I knew it was coming up. It's still like pretty good. But yeah, overall, a good movie, I would say. But yeah, that's just me. I just feel like I've seen like a lot of movies like this where I can tell where the story is going, but nevertheless, the execution is, I would say, what matters the most because it still gets me, man. But yeah, with that said, let's go and yeah, watch the video on why Coco's final death fundamentally terrifies you, which is pretty interesting because the final death was like only mentioned one time in the movie. I know, like we know with Hector and stuff, he's about to maybe reach that point, but like it's only like mainly just explored like one time, mainly in the movie, and yeah, I'm just really not sure where he's gonna go with this because I just feel like it's very straightforward, where you just pretty much are forgotten, and because of that, you're pretty much like just gone forever, like with your soul and stuff. So yeah, we'll see where the Theorizer goes with this because I'm not sure where he would go. Here we go, man. Let's watch. Okay, starting off with the intro right away without going into a preamble, if that's what you call it, like, some words spoken before the intro here. Alright, here we go. Almost there, man.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and just a little
Hello,
while back
Theorizer.
I watched the Pixar movie Coco. I really enjoyed it. I thought it had amazing animation, and the story was
me
just
too.
wonderful. I did my usual thing where I watched through the movie and take tons of notes on how I think it will end. Usually I end up predicting the ending, but then I'm left with a ton of other plots
Me too.
that
I
could have
kind of
been,
predict the ending
and
too.
beneath the surface of the film, they still could be. There are questions left unanswered, like why is the guitar cursed, or how does Hector have a photograph of himself in this quasi-afterlife? But those have already been effectively
Okay.
answered by...
Yeah, that is something I never thought about, the guitar being cursed. Like, yeah, he just touched it. He, played just one strum of the guitar and he's like cursed and I don't know, half living, half dead, I guess.
a few others, so there isn't a whole lot left for me to solve here. Which brings me to some things I found to be possible plot holes. I am going to try and answer all major questions left unanswered by this film.
Okay.
Here we go. The land of the dead is old, I assume. They have a massive society full of souls tethered to skeletons, and based off of the photographs and people's memories that fuel the afterlife, it can be assumed that this entire land is powered by the Mexicans' belief in it. And that's all fine and dandy, but how the heck would people be remembered without having their picture out. Sorry, what I mean is, before cameras were made commonplace, how were people remembered throughout generations? Were they
You know what? Let me
immortalized
not
in
pause in this
paintings
moment
and
because
drawings?
it's
Possibly,
got
but
some
that seems far less
naked dudes. All right, so that is actually pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, you can maybe say maybe paintings in itself would be like one way, like a portrait of like Mona Lisa and stuff. But yeah,
capable.
we'll see
I
what he
believe that
says.
the land of the dead was a place people could go so long as their close family back on Earth could remember them, because there were no photographs way back when. This explains perfectly why Imelda's parents and grandparents cannot be seen anywhere on the land of the dead. They were never immortalized in photographs. This
Yeah,
matches up perfectly with when cameras were made
but there's also the thing where the person themselves, right? Like with Coco, like yeah, she was about to forget Hector,
commonplace in
so that's
real
one way
life
you can
too,
like be
right around the
remembered
time Coco was
and
born,
immortalized.
early 1900s. The time is perfectly matched. I don't believe the land of the dead used to be designed for people to be remembered in photographs, hence why the sheer level of overpopulation is being made more and more apparent. I mean, just look at their houses.
Yeah,
Stacks upon
it's like
stacks upon stacks
a
of
lot of houses in this
overpopulation
place.
because this
It's
land
like
needs
massive.
to evolve. They seem to have computers now, which is a bonus as they are adapting to memories instilled in photography. But yeah, the
Mm.
big question I had when watching this movie was about where Imelda's parents were, and the answer is, they final dead. So then if they're gone, there's another very important question. What happens to spirits after their final death? This
I mean, yeah, like I said, I just feel like it might be just straightforward where they're just gone into the dust. Like they're just pretty much nothing right now.
is when the spirits are completely forgotten back on Earth. This is when their photographs are not put out, and the last living person forgets about them. They begin to vanish and finally die completely. Is
Now, one thing I thought about too is like what if like they actually are like they finally got the final death? What if like somehow somebody remembers, like let's say somebody like came back as a zombie but like remembers their ancestors? Do they come back too? Like would that undo the final death? That might be like a weird example, but I just thought about that now, just like thinking about the mechanics behind the final death.
the skeleton world like a purgatory that sends them to heaven or hell after they're forgotten? Possibly. I
Mm,
mean, it's also literally called the Land of the Dead, which is the same name, coincidentally, as the afterlife in The Corpse Bride. Different company made that movie,
okay.
but I made a theory on The Corpse Bride in which I
I
basically
forgot all about
discussed how
this
the
movie,
Corpse
so I'm not gonna remember much about it.
Bride's Land of the Dead is a purgatory, and people get to move on after
Okay.
everything is over with
Okay,
them.
that's what I thought he might be going into. Is like they're like in purgatory or limbo.
Memory. They'd go to heaven or to hell based off of how they behaved in this purgatory. This
Okay.
incorporates all ends of the afterlife spectrum into one concept, which actually makes more sense here. And if this land of the dead was a true afterlife, end all be all, then I highly doubt that living animals could go back and forth to and from it. They can
Yeah, that's also
interact with their
another
ghosts and enter
interesting
the
thing,
land
that
of the dead
that
even
dog.
without being cursed. So it makes me believe the land of the dead is a physical, middle ground dimension designed as a positive, non-purging version of purgatory. So that was sort of 4
Okay.
questions answered there. Where are Imelda's parents? Why is the land of the dead so overpopulated looking? How can animals transcend it? And where do skeletons go after final death? That was swift as hell, but there's a bigger question looming over all this. What is the very specific definition of who remembers you? For example, if you transplanted your consciousness into a computer, would it still count as you remembering
Mm.
someone? Or do you need to have a physical brain and body? What is
I mean, in my opinion, because of like just how I don't know, it is kind of weird because like it's like, do you rely on technology to remember you? Does it count like with the photograph because that is technology, or like does it have to be like an actual human brain? In my opinion, I think more of the human brain. Yeah, I feel like more of the human brain. I don't know. That's just me. It could be a bit of both, but I feel like the as long as somebody remembers, like you don't need like a photograph to for them to disappear.
the law here? Where's the line drawn? Who makes up the rules? I mean, Miguel saw Hector, but Hector still began to die away since Miguel only saw him when he himself was also a ghostly presence. Therefore, the line appears to be drawn at only people who have a physical body and brain remembering you. And
Yeah.
also, neat to note, the picture
And I guess another thing too, like, do you count history books? Like, like the history of Mexico, like would they even live? I guess maybe they can. I never thought about one thing. What about De La Cruz? He left his family, right? But it turned out to be, yeah, he's like the father that left. What about De La Cruz's family? Because he has fans. I'm guessing he's living through the fans, but it's got to be. I don't know. I need to look back on it, but I thought it'll be more of like the actual family members, maybe. But it could be just anyone that remembers.
set out needs to be your face, not your body, as we see with Hector. This is all very
Mm.
interesting, and I am intrigued by who
All right, the
created
face.
these rules.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the person ruling over the land of the dead. I'm just not too sure quite yet who that is. Maybe for another video. I went on Twitter and asked for questions people had about the lore. Solving theories is very easy. It's the easiest part. It's coming up with the questions that is immensely time consuming. If you have any questions about this movie, please do ask them in the comments. I have an affinity for troubleshooting evidence. A person on Twitter asked a very key question.
Okay.
They asked about why Ernesto de la Cruz suddenly made the decision to kill Hector. Ernesto and Hector were childhood friends and best pals, so why would he just outright kill him? I believe Ernesto was the one who lured Hector away from his family so that they could be famous musicians, but Ernesto's lack of a similar situation, a family, led him not to care about Hector's internal conflict. Ernesto didn't even know if he himself had a great-grandson or not, therefore let alone children at all. Hector being held back from greatness by his family was something the now narcissistic and deluded Ernesto de la Cruz couldn't afford to lose, so he needed to steal the songs. Basically, he has no hatred or hard feelings against Hector, it was just a matter of business after realizing that Hector found his family more important than his music. And so here's my theory on
Yeah,
Ernesto's
I
thought
agree with that.
process. Hector finding his family more important than music, that alone probably broke Ernesto, since he'd been childhood friends with Hector and music was like their baby. In his own twisted and narcissistic way, Ernesto thought of Hector leaving music in the same way as Imelda thought of Hector leaving Coco. Ernesto probably hated Imelda, the singing woman that butted into their musical partnership. His hatred for Hector probably grew and grew after marrying Imelda and having Coco. Even Miguel, who he assumed was his own great-great-grandson, he ditched in a ditch. It wasn't personal, it was his greater love for himself and music. And because he didn't deny Miguel being related to him, it means that he's probably been with dozens of side chicks on his travels, and he has no idea how many of them had his children. This just got immensely 18 plus, but
Yeah.
it's true. So that's my theory.
I feel like that kind of explained things too. Oh, okay. So that was actually it for that video. Like that ending, that was pretty much it. When I skipped the ad, it just took me to the next video here, the Up Imposter Theory, which I saw it had like over 1 million views. So this one seems to be, it might be like really, really good. Um, but yeah, with that whole thing with Ernesto, which I think I called him De La Cruz. That's how I kind of like remember him by. But yeah, I guess I can kind of see that where, also like, with his the girls that he's been with, like, not even knowing if he had kids with them or not. Maybe he's also like powered by them as well to be remembered. That's why he's still there and not forgotten as well. Like I said, I'm sure, maybe the fans as well. He's very popular and stuff. Does that mean like celebrities? Like, I don't know. I don't know any famous like, Mexican celebrities, but like just imagine like, Michael Jackson. Let's pretend that he's there and stuff. Like, like dude is like very famous and stuff. Like people would just remember his face. Well, I guess I guess that's another thing too. What if like does it have to be the original face or like without the surgery and stuff? I don't know now. I don't know, man. There's like a lot of things about the lore of like the world building of Coco. I think it's very interesting. Um, but yeah, I think that was a very like interesting video overall. I do like to think about like more of the plot holes. Like I said, the cursed guitar. I'm not sure if we really got into that. I don't remember. I guess anything that talks about that. I feel like there was like more I guess questions in that video than answers maybe. I think overall though it is like interesting to think about. I do wonder because he did include that Coco stuff if that will be included into the the final video here. But anyways, let's go move on with the up imposter theory. Like I said, over like a million views. So this one here might be a very, very good video. So here we go.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and what if
Hello,
I told
Theorizer.
you that this wasn't Charles Muntz?
What? But unlike Coco, it's been a while since I've seen Up. Even though I've seen it like multiple times, it's still been like a long, long time. And I guess another good example too of like what I said back then of like even though you can see it a mile away, it's still like very effective. The beginning of Up, dude, like that is even though I've seen that so many times, that is like hard to like not cry to, man. Like holy crap. But yeah, as long as the execution is good, man, like it's never a bad thing, even though you might know what's coming up.
Today, I'm doing a revised theory because
Oh,
I love looking back at my older theories and making them better. That's what I mean when I say revised theory. Anyways, today I'm revising the theory I had regarding a character from the Pixar movie Up. It was on the villain, Charles Muntz. Yes, the adventurer turned psychotic supposed serial killing demented nutcase inflicted with severe fulfillment issues.
yeah, I do
Let's
remember
hop
where
into it.
he's
In the
not
original
a good
theory, I
guy
said that there were two
at some
options
point
for
in the
Charles
story.
Muntz. Either he's a chronic liar, or, get this, he isn't even Muntz at all. And the reasons I said these two things are because everything Muntz says in the movie makes literally no sense.
Okay.
He says things about himself
Like it's kind of funny. I just got done watching Coco, and I guess in a way it's kind of like that with Ernesto. Like just still fresh in my mind.
that simply don't add up. But there is a third, quite fantastic option here, and it's the theory created by the Carlin brothers,
All
claiming
right, they're
that
mentioned
Carl
again.
Fredricksen has developed some form of severe insanity, and
Oh my.
everything he experiences is his delusion. But I still don't know how I feel
I
about
mean,
that one,
it,
just
it is
because of how the movie
some
ultimately
really
ends,
far
and
out
how
stuff that
Muntz shouldn't
he's
turn
been
evil
on
in
for that
Carl's
journey.
interpretation, unless of course there's some greater symbolism I've overlooked that has to do with the hero flipping on him. And all of this is why I decided to take a stab at Charles's lies and produce new ideas. I concluded that Muntz was lying to Carl so that he could exaggerate his own accomplishments. You see, when Carl and Russell first walk into the blimp, Muntz was immediately suspicious of them. He wanted to know if they were after his bird. But when Carl started fanboying on Charles, Muntz began to lie. And actually, he acted like he knew nothing about his own past. He said that he gambled and hunted with a certain president, but the Carlin brothers were right. Charles would need to be a small child at that time in order for it all to work. So I concluded that Muntz was lying just to test them, to see if they were after his bird or not. He also says that he never left Paradise Falls during the decades he'd been searching. So food can be hunted and resources gathered, but breeding dogs like this isn't something I think would naturally be occurring in this area. All of the natural canines around this area wouldn't be domesticated, they'd be almost wolf-like. And Charles Muntz doesn't actually show off any female dogs, so how would they breed unless he left this desolate location at least once or twice? Many of
Yeah,
you
that's a pretty good
commented
point.
before saying that the voice modifications could be all male, including the females, but since all of the dogs have different voices anyways, couldn't it just be as easy to fit one for a female dog? The alpha dog
That's
has a
true.
deep voice to symbolize his dominance, and the idiot sidekicks have idiot sidekick voices, so a female would be easy to make if he has already all these other voices. But this
I think that's a really
commenter
good point,
on my
man.
original theory
Different
made
voices
a
for the
great
dogs.
point about hot dogs as well. Perhaps he could have gone to large cities in South America to get these
Dang.
things, but he appears very adamant about his mission and only takes his blimp out after he found the bird. He just doesn't make any sense in certain things he says. But then I realized something else, which I didn't delve into really in that other theory at all. Charles Muntz says that there have been many people who tried stealing the bird before he can find it, and that he killed all of them. Also remember, Charles Muntz was seemingly lying about his past, or was he? No,
Oh.
the past he said is completely impossible, but I don't think he was lying. Because I don't think this is Charles Muntz. Mind blown. Yes, an
Okay.
imposter.
So I'm assuming he's just like taking someone else's uh yeah, name and face. I don't know about face, but just pretty much name and accomplishments in general.
Theory. That the true 92-year-old Charles Muntz was killed off by this new, younger, mysterious character. Well,
Okay.
let's debate the similarities. The eye color is a big one because it doesn't change over a person's lifetime. The Charles from the olden days was in black and white, but based off of the shade and reflectivity of his iris, we can clearly see that they were blue. His hair is
Okay.
brown and his eyebrows
I
too.
mean, I'm not gonna be the best with that because yeah, I do notice it's black and white as well. So yeah, I wouldn't know like how to tell if it's the same color or not. Because yeah, what if it's like another color instead?
When Charles is an old man, his hair is completely white and his eyebrows are completely white. Nice Pixar, making things black and white and whiter just to spite me. I cry every time. And I mean, his facial features are a bit similar, as are his clothes, but his ears, specifically his earlobes, are quite a bit different. And while
Hmm.
some of this physical evidence proves he may be an imposter, nearly all of the mental and logical evidence proves it much more significantly. And blue eyes with brown hair are very common amongst people, let alone the fact that they're for some reason extremely common in Pixar films. See
Really?
Andy Davis and his mom, Carl Fredricksen, and most people that are people being people in Pixar movies that revolve around people.
Okay.
So
The blue eyes is especially reoccurring. Can I go back? I'm guessing it's setting up. Yeah.
so many of their characters share this trait.
Maybe Carl and Ellie have blue eyes to symbolize their will to adventure the open blue skies. Hmm. I kind of like that. A purpose to
So
their
perhaps we
designs.
can discredit their eyes and hair color as a coincidence, and the imposter could easily steal the clothes of Charles Muntz, but it's the facial features that really bug me. It's easy to copy a mustache and the hairstyle, especially if this imposter was a fanboy of the true Charles Muntz. Who knows? Maybe it was the imposter's plan all along to replace Charles Muntz and find the bird. Plastic surgery seems way too far fetched, but depending on how adamant this guy was about finding the bird and taking credit, it may seem even more likely than I think. This man looks like he is actually maybe a bit younger than Fredricksen, which would make, literally no sense unless Charles is a Time Lord. Yes, I'm referencing a show I haven't even seen. Dedication to jokes right there. Then again, I think someone actually made a good theory on this exact topic. Right
Okay.
here, though, the other thing to consider is that the voice of Charles Muntz isn't 100% identical. I'm fairly certain they had different people voice Muntz over his years, but I am not sure. The age difference gives him a raspy voice, but also, this person commented something I actually
I
think
mean, I don't know. When it comes to like, voices, I don't know. I think I can see it go either way. Like if they have different voices, it's probably to like show that, the character has age and that also affects their voice. But at the same time, I don't know. I had a point, but then I forgot. Frick. It was on my mind. I'll just continue. Well, if I remember it, then I'll say it. But I
is
can
one
see it
of the
go either
most
way.
brilliant things I've ever seen. Up makes use of voice modifications to
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's a really good point now. Oh, frick. Oh, snap. He could have used it on himself. Oh, wow.
constantly. They allow dogs to talk and animals to communicate, voice modding. So this could easily allow the imposter to sound just like
I think that's a
Charles
really good
Muntz. Hi,
point.
this is just me quickly butting
Wait,
in while
what was? I think you forgot to edit out the title. What the heck? I saw like a little title, like flash there. Gonna do it frame by frame, just to catch that. Funny little editing mistake, I would assume. Oh, there we go. You guys saw it? Bam. Title. Exactly one frame. I'm going in between the frame now. Title.
Hi, this is just me quickly butting in while editing, and I noticed something else. Some of you may be wondering how the dogs wouldn't notice that this new person was now their leader. Well, either he's very good at covering his tracks, or he's the one who brought this new alpha dog. And as we see
Mmm.
with Doug, all the dogs will change immediately and follow a new person when a new alpha is established. Who knows? Maybe it was this alpha which actually went in and ate the Charles Muntz.
Oh my.
I mean, the dogs didn't second guess it when Carl took control just because Doug's the new alpha. Anyways, back to the main video. And I mean, just look at all the power Charles Muntz contains in him. His age almost certainly isn't the same age as this imposter. This guy looks younger than the 78-year-old Carl. The age alone
Yeah.
completely proves it can't be the same person. He looks not nearly as old as Muntz should look, who is supposed to be 92. So, does one of these helmets and one of these goggles belong to the true Muntz? Again, the imposter would never confirm that he killed Charles Muntz, but the crazy fan would still wear his hero's outfit. And so, I'm concluding that this is a hellish fanboy, a shell of the true Charles Muntz, a fan who was insane and produced a grand scheme to replace Charles Muntz and murder everybody in his way. One more thing to note is that on the bonus disc, and oh yes, I love me some bonus disc, they say that Charles Muntz was always intended to represent that part of Carl that lost his will to go on after Ellie died. And for Carl to defeat him, that would bring him out of his depression and into happiness, the way we see him at the end of the film. Even their names, Charles and Carl, both
Wow.
come from the same base word. But this doesn't at all debunk what I've said here today, as that more or less
That's
revolves
also an
around the
interesting thing to
figurative
know
aspect
about.
of all this.
Wow.
Everything I'm saying
Charles and
is
Carl.
literal. But this factor does aid a certain part of my theory
Can I go back? Because I was talking over that probably important part.
here today, as that more or less revolves around the figurative aspect of all this. Everything I'm saying is literal. But this factor does aid a certain part of my theory that Carl needed to destroy the anti-version of himself, which would mean, if it truly is symbolic parallelism, it would also have to be a fanboy. You guys, the viewers, have a habit of astonishing me with some things you bring up. Some of the comments you make prompt me to want to make more videos just about the comments. So please, if you find anything more on this theory I've made here, comment it, because I think this theory of mine can go a lot deeper than what I've noted so far. I'll of course pin your comment if you can find something good enough, but until then, I'm the Theorizer. So this was just
Okay.
a little theory I had and thought, you know what, I haven't touched this in a little while, why not bring it back with updates and make it better? Even though this isn't my best work, I think it's a really, really interesting idea. One
I
that
do think it's
felt
very
like sharing
interesting.
more in depth, because of just how shocking it is. So comment below which movies you think I should do next. Preferably Pixar or Disney or something everybody's seen. Bye bye!
Alright. No, yeah, for me, I can still see it go like either way, where, he's not the fanboy, he could be the real thing. But like, I think with the mention of the collar itself, but also like with the way with the dogs, they're not like the wild dogs, they look like the domestic dogs you would see like in the, you know, in like today's time, like in the city and stuff, like in homes and all. But yeah, I feel like, he could have also just like come back after taking down the real one and just, get that uh plastic surgery to make. Look like him. But it must be like a very like I don't know, a very maybe also like rich fanboy as well, because all that is very expensive. Unless like he also took the wealth of the real Charles. But yeah, one thing I thought about too that I guess I learned from this video was the whole thing about, you know, Carl's and Charles, where like Charles supposed to be the anti version of him, of Carl. And that, we see in the movie they're pretty much fighting each other. And that by defeating Charles, he kind of like, moves on, gets happiness. He doesn't really think about the whole traveling and all that. Yeah, I never realized that before. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think this overall was a pretty interesting theory. Just to think about, that could be like an imposter. Like Charles is not is not the real Charles. I think that could definitely happen. Like what sold it to me was the voice changer for the dogs, and also like with the food and the like a hot dog. I don't expect hot dogs to be there. Like especially with that bun, man. You would need to go back to the city to buy those buns unless he can make that himself. And then the dogs too, and stuff. But yeah, I think it's a very good theory. I think at the very least, it is very it is an interesting thing to bring up in general. All right, finally we got how toys come to life, which I think is the shortest theory so far. I'm seeing it being like 4 minutes long, almost 5 minutes long. So yeah, I can't remember like his other theories like mainly with the SpongeBob ones with their length. But I think this might be the shortest one I've seen so far from him. So yeah, it might be a very fast pace. We'll see how this goes. I mean, yeah, how toys come to life. I feel like that's going to be an obvious theory to ask for. So here we go. How do toys come to life? I feel like that's an easy one to you know, ask a question for when it comes to theories in general. All right, here we go. The Theorizer. Second to last
Hello,
video.
I'm the Theorizer, and Toy Story
Hello,
4 is
Theorizer.
going to be probably quite good, at least if the previous films have anything to say about it. So in this rather short miniature theory, something I rarely do, I'm going to give my take on the new teaser trailer because I do believe it aligns greatly with a previous theory I made on how the toys come to life. I'm
What
making
teaser
this as
trailer is he
fast
talking
as I
about?
possibly
I'm
can for
guessing
the
for
sake of, well, the fact that it's a teaser,
the
and so this is going to be sort of a
Toy Story
revision
4,
of my
right?
older theory, so let's begin. First of all, my old theory was about how Andy brings the toys to life. Now, this was literal, like I literally meant that every single Toy Story movie is by Andy Davis. His stories, it's him playing with his toys. But now that we have this one new teaser, I think I'm gonna change it.
Oh yeah.
This little spork thing is the new character, and he says, "I don't belong here." Now, at first glance, you may think this is because he's not a real toy, just a fork with some humanoid characteristics. However, closer logical inspection proves that that's less likely the case. More likely he means, "I don't belong here," as in, I shouldn't be alive. This thing knows he shouldn't be alive. He's not a toy, he's a fork.
You know, it's been a while since I last watched it. Toy Story 4. I think that's the movie where he comes in, but he was just made, right?
With a
I mean, yeah,
couple of
obviously from
features on him,
the
and so
just the
I
way
believe that
his materials
all
are.
along we have known how toys come to
But
life.
yeah, I assume. Oh yeah, he did talk about the teaser, right? So I think around this time the movie did not was not out yet.
Life. It truly is
Yeah, I
quite
kind of forgot
simply
how
the
he was made,
children,
but I
but in
I
a
think it
different
was
sense
just
to how I meant before. It's the children's imaginations that physically and
just
literally
by
bring
I think
them
by a
to
child. I
life.
think.
Let me explain. In
Okay.
Inside Out, another Pixar film, we learn that children's imaginations can create characters in the Pixar
Now Weasley
universe.
Inside
We
Out.
have Bing Bong. As they grow older, they lose this power, and adults are less and less able to bring things to life. Hence, Bing
Okay.
Bong disappearing. In Monsters Inc., we see that children's energy can literally be
Oh
harvested into
snap.
stream energy. But
Okay, so he's saying that pretty much imagination, imagination. I guess mainly for children is what power things. I mean, this is also a big sign too, because I mean, yeah, this is like also saying that children are a power source,
adults are less
like
able.
through screams and
Children in the
laughs.
Pixar universe have an innate power inside of them, and so long as they say a toy can come to life, as long as they believe it, that power of belief can accomplish amazing things. So, this fork, I assume, is a child's project, and the child has unwillingly brought them to life by creating and believing it. The fork doesn't know why it's here, and children are only getting increasingly more powerful. We've never seen anything of this extent in a Toy Story movie before, as children are getting stronger and stronger. As to why, well, that's a theory for another day. Toys such as Stinky Pete or Buzz Lightyear were given personalities that their companies said they should have, but as we see, they aren't nearly personal enough. They're almost robotic. They have no intellectual diversity, and they are boring. But Stinky Pete is pretty cunning from being around the devious toy collector for so long. From factories, though, they are boring because they need children. Adults aren't enough. Children have an innate energy inside of them that powers these things, and this even flows straight along the lines of the famous Pixar theory, such as how perhaps the company BNL, which you may or may not know about, is
Oh, here we
creating
go.
a
That's the
toy
next
to
video,
harvest
man.
children energy. However, that's
For me to
again
finish
for
things
another
off.
day. My point is, Toy Story 4 will be dark. I bet the toys will lose all of their life essence. I bet we'll finally learn how they came to life, and the super sad end scene Pixar and the voice actors have been teasing will be all of the toys finally losing their personalities, becoming
Oh,
nothing. Perhaps
dang, dude. I mean, like I said, I don't remember much from Toy Story 4. If anything, I've seen the first three movies maybe multiple times. I think more on the older ones. Like the older ones are the more memorable ones for me. But yeah, I feel like I've only seen like Toy Story 4 like maybe one time. But it definitely did not happen at all.
due to a lack of being around a child, I don't know because I don't know the plot, but I certainly think that something
But like, I
along
kind of
those
like his
lines
version
will
though.
occur. Children have a
I
power.
like this
They're
version.
supers, dare I say. And that is my take on the small teaser we got to look at. So please subscribe, you'll be able to know when I cover the next Toy Story 4 trailer, if I do, because the rabbit hole's getting deeper and deeper. You can even click the little bell and select all
Okay, I think
notifications
that's
if you
pretty
want to
much
be
for it for
reminded.
this video.
So until then,
But
I'm the Theorizer.
yeah, I don't think that happened from like my memory. I think everyone like Woody split up from the rest of the toys at the end of the movie. But I do kind of like that, like his version of the history on the movie. I feel like for me, I feel like that would hit way more harder for me than what I saw back in Toy Story 4. I thought Toy Story 3 had a very good ending where I did not think it needed another movie. Like when I think back at it, I feel like Toy Story 4 wasn't really needed. Like especially if that would be the last one. I feel like Toy Story 3 would be the best way to end off the Toy Story stuff. But now we're getting Toy Story 5, man. Like I know with that, like the toys are going up against like the like electronics, like the smart tablet and stuff. I know they've been showing off teasers for that. I but like with that though, I am kind of curious how they would tackle that kind of story because yeah, that's pretty much how I went about things. For me is that when I was a kid, like I played with so many toys, like even like I would make a big mess, like in my room, just filled with toys, and then my mom would get angry at me because it's so messy. But then nowadays I'm just playing on my electronics, man. I'm playing video games. Like I do have some toys like like near me, but I don't really play with them though. Like I got this Lightning McQueen, this like monster truck wrestling Lightning McQueen figurine with me, or I guess toy, not figurine. But like I don't even like play with it. It's just for display because I like Lightning McQueen, and also someone just gave it to me because they just saw it like you know being discarded. But yeah, overall, I feel like I can't really comment much about it just because, I don't really remember much, with the spork in general. I think he was made by a kid, and that's how he came to life. I do think there's probably something with the power of imagination that does power them. I think he does bring in some good points, and this is assuming that the Pixar characters, like the movies, the universe, they're all connected. We know the kids, they have some kind of like special, energy that would power up the city of Monstropolis in Monsters Inc. So yeah, I think overall, even though I can't comment much about about the theory itself because I don't remember much about Toy Story 4, I do think he does bring up some very interesting points. Just imagine that, man. I'm just wondering if the reason why he brought up like, the Coco stuff and maybe this one here is because it is going to be brought up again in that very last theory. That's what I assume. It does seem like, with this video here, it does show more the importance of kids and their innate abilities of providing some kind of like life and energy. So there you guys have it. That is my reaction to the Coco theory, the Up theory, and the Toy Story theory. And before I forget, because I meant to say this at the beginning of the video, but because Coco, I just finished watching that. It was fresh in my mind. I just wanted to talk about that more. But yeah, before I forget, check out the Theorizer's channel. I do have his videos for the ones I watch in this video linked it down in the comments below. But yeah, just in general, go to his channel, give him a sub, give him some watch time because he definitely deserves it. But yeah, with the theories itself, I think I've pretty much said everything I said back like a few minutes ago with this theory here. The Yup was also very interesting. I can see it go either way, but I do think he does bring up some pretty interesting points. I think, especially with the voice changer, I think that's what sold me. And then the Coco theory was also very cool to see as well. With it being fresh in my mind, and it does bring up some things that I did not think about, like the curse and all that and the guitar as well. But yeah, very good videos. The next one will be the final one for me to react to, which is the Pixar only has one villain, puppeteering all 27 movies, in which, like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure when I'll be able to upload this video because it is a very long video compared to like all his other ones. Normally because they're short, I'm able to get them done in time. But yeah, because this is almost like 1 hour long, and like if I were to react to it, then my video would be around like maybe, if I were to guess, like an hour and 30 minutes, because I do pause and give my thoughts and all. But yeah, it might take me some time to get this one out. I know, like, sometimes before I would maybe be able to do this, but you know, the more I do these reaction videos, the more I think about, like, I don't think I'll be able to, I guess, get some of these done in time if they're too long. But yeah, we'll see when this comes out, my reaction to this. It might be like 2 weeks later, or maybe even more, maybe months. I'm not sure, but I do want to make some time in the future for me to react to this as soon as possible. And I do want to say one more thing while I still have you guys here, since it might be a while for me to upload the next video. But yeah, I just want to say that, thank you so much for watching my reaction videos here. They do seem to be popping off more than my other videos, like with the Theorizer videos, the other theory videos that I've been reacting to, you know. And yeah, definitely I want to thank the Theorizer himself for allowing us to react to his videos. I've seen, like, when you search up like Theorizer reactions, you do see like other people reacting to his videos. And yeah, I'm just very thankful and grateful for him to allow us to react to his videos, because for me, like, the reason why I started YouTube was because back then I watched a lot of Let's Play channels, just people playing video games, and I wanted to do that for myself. And so that's pretty much what I do for most of my videos here. But now with the reactions, um, that's also a thing too that I've watched other people like react to before, and now I get to be a part of that too. So yeah, I want to thank the Theorizer for, you know, allowing us to watch his videos and react to it. They're very great videos, very high quality, and also for you guys too. The reason why I began watching the Pixar Mega Theory is because I think during some of my other theory reaction videos, one of you guys recommended me, like, I think around a year ago, to make me watch this series of videos, and then I think I did forgot about it over time, but then that same person came back to comment and recommend me to watch this series because he's about to make the finale here. And I do appreciate that person, that same person, like, coming back, because I wasn't sure if people would just, like, forget about me, but I'm glad that that one person did remember me, because yeah, that's the reason why I'm watching these videos in the first place. I guess these videos in specific, which are really great videos. So yeah, I'm grateful that that person did think about me, for me to, you know, for me to come back to here, even though it's been like, many months since I, kind of forgot about going back to the Theorizer's videos, because I did want to. It's just, there's been so many different videos I want to do in my mind that I kind of forgot about this. But I knew I want to do some reaction videos, so yeah, I do appreciate the reminder, and also, like, just being in the minds where like I'm not forgotten, I guess. Yeah, pretty much Coco. I guess, yeah, that's pretty much Coco, man. What I'm saying right now is pretty much Coco. I'm not, like, forgotten, so I do appreciate you guys haven't forgotten me when it comes to, like, maybe the content that you watch on YouTube. But yeah, anyway, guys, that is it for this video. Next one will be the last one. Who knows when when my reaction to this video will come out. But anyway, guys, yeah, I'll see you then, though, whenever that happens. So that'll be for now. That's game.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good